Harvey Oswald was killed before he could stand trial for the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In creating the following drama, certain names and events have been changed. While inferences are made at the trial, the testimony and the historical scenes of November 21st through November 24th, 1963, including the film of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, have a factual basis and were recreated for this motion picture at the actual locations where the events took place.
The eyes of the entire world continue to be focused on this small-town Texas courtroom, where for the past 43 days, Lee Harvey Oswald has been on trial for his life, where now a jury has retired to deliberate his fate.
Are you satisfied the way the trial's going?
I will be if justice is done.
You mean if you're acquitted?
I said if justice is done. That's what this country's supposed to stand for, isn't it?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we'll reserve any and all questions for the trial, please. Thank you. For the defense, Mr. Weldon.
That was Lee Harvey Oswald as he arrived for the first day of his murder trial nearly 2 months ago. Throughout the long and exhaustive trial, he was returned each day under heavy security to a specially constructed isolation cell in the Dallas County Jail, where he was taken again yesterday afternoon. And at 3:12, the 7-man, 5-woman jury retired to deliberate a verdict. No doubt to ponder the many disturbing questions raised in the course of this trial. Was there a conspiracy involved in the assassination of President Kennedy? Was Oswald knowingly or unknowingly part of that conspiracy? Would he alone plan and execute the trial? While a final rendering of the fate of Lee Harvey Oswald is up to the jury, the controversy that has swirled about the crime of which he stands accused will very likely continue, whatever the final verdict. And despite streams of witnesses, weeks of cross-examination, his own testimony from the stand, Oswald himself continues in many ways to remain an enigma to his family, acquaintances, psychiatric experts, and perhaps even to himself. Some of Oswald's co-workers in the book depository where he was employed on the day of the assassination seem to have thought of him as intense and introspective, but others recall him as being suddenly and unexpectedly voluble.
Why, because you think so?
All who knew him, it seems clear, found him in some way
Cap,
different.
turn it off.
24-year-old Texas youth, prior to this event, had been quite unremarkable. Now finds himself the focus.
Now forget it.
Even
Let
at
him
the age of
talk.
12, when examined by
Free
the
speech, that's what this
authorities,
country's all about, isn't it?
Oswald was described as drawn and solitary. The long trial's been covered by reporters from every part of the world. Now they, along with millions of readers, are awaiting the jury's verdict. Oswald's life history has been scrutinized for clues to his character. His father died shortly before his birth in New Orleans, and he spent some of his childhood years in an orphan asylum. Later, when his mother remarried, he moved with her from place to place, said to form a close attachment to his stepmother. This attachment was
Stanno quasi pronti, ma non sanno dove stanno.
described as unable to form a close relationship with anyone. Through adolescence, he lived with his mother in New York, New Orleans, and finally Fort Worth.
Jury's coming back.
He joined the Marines at 17, almost immediately after being discharged.
Let's go.
Russia, where he renounced his American citizenship. Although he was refused Soviet citizenship, he was permitted to stay in Russia. After it's rumored he attempted to commit suicide. In Minsk, where he worked in a factory, he met and married Marina Proskova, the niece of a KGB official. Very little's known about the details of their life together in Russia. And of course, there are still many questions about Marina Oswald. She's given few interviews and was not allowed under Texas law to testify in the trial. Disappointed in his attempt at age 21 to become a Soviet citizen, Oswald, with the help of the American embassy in Moscow, brought his Russian wife and infant daughter back to the States. Later, in Fort Worth, the young couple had a second daughter. Oswald held many jobs, and a few weeks before the assassination, got himself employed in the Texas School Book Depository, located at Harvey Plaza in Dallas.
Я хочу, чтобы она зашла домой.
Где пора отдыхать? Она может позже идти в кровать.
Мы поиграем, я приведу ее скоро.
Пожалуйста, Lee. I don't want her to be all worked up. Then I have to get up in the middle of the night with her. It's enough with a baby.
Go on, June. Go on, June Lee. Go on, Daddy's gonna get you. I caught you. Oop, I'm gonna get you pretty dressed.
You shouldn't have come when Beth wasn't expecting you.
Oh, Beth doesn't mind. She gets to speak Russian with both of us, right, Beth?
That's right. I'll watch the kids so you two can talk.
That's not the point. It's her house.
I didn't ask her to take you in this time. You did. What do you want me to do? Take a bus back to Dallas tonight?
No. Just remember, you cannot come again tomorrow night.
Why not?
Because you are not paying for our food here.
I'm working. I could. You should come back to Dallas with me. That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Marina. I want you to come back with me.
To that rooming house where they don't even know your name?
I told you that was a mistake. The landlady got the name wrong, that's all.
Maybe I'll come back after Christmas.
No. I mean now, tomorrow.
How? Where would we live? We have 2 children now, Lee.
I'll find an apartment for us. I've already been looking around for one. Please, Marina.
This was the scene our cameras recorded earlier today in Houston.
Remember, Marina?
Kennedy arrived at the airport in Air Force One.
That record you bought me once, Borodine? Bum, 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 bum.
Of course I remember.
Oh, I hope it's not lost or broken.
It's just a record.
Yeah, I guess.
Now I have to do all that.
They say the president's trip to Texas is designed partly to mend political fences. I guess the governor's going to be involved in anything political in Texas, right? Right.
It's getting late. It's time for bed.
I'm not sleepy yet. Let's watch the television.
Dallas didn't vote for Kennedy in 1960 and may not endorse him in 64. That isn't going to in any way affect the warmth and reception they're going to get. Like Times Herald said last month, we're going to be congenial folks. Agree with that, Mary Lou?
You bet. I think everyone I talked to is looking forward to seeing you. Representative Penny County. Of course, the police will be out in force, backing up the trillions of FBI and Secret Service men that'll be coming along with the president.
Доброе утро.
I'm going to start breakfast. You awake?
Oh, that. I'm just getting up.
Didn't Lee stay last night?
Yes, but he was asleep when I went to bed. I guess he made the bed after he got up.
I didn't hear him go out this morning. But he's always so quiet.
Oh, look. Lee's gone off and left his wallet behind. And his wedding ring.
Not many cars out this morning.
Must have blocked off some of the streets for the motor parade.
Look how many windows we got. We ought to sell tickets. What do the signs say?
Kennedy wanted for treason.
Bunch of nuts. Well, I figure if the president goes by in the parade at lunchtime, we can eat outside and still watch him. You better lock it up. I mean, if you're going to leave your package in the back seat.
I guess I'll take it with me.
What you got there?
Curtain rods.
He arrived earlier, at exactly 11:40 a.m., we are told, on Air Force One. Yesterday, as you know, the president visited San Antonio.
He's here! Come, watch!
Medical Center in Houston, where he spoke at Rice Stadium. From here, the presidential party will motor directly to Dallas, and I think they're about ready to leave now. Yes, I think that's one of the Secret Service men signaling. And there's Kenneth O'Donnell most...
Come on, fellas, hurry up. Let's go. We gotta hurry and eat lunch or we'll miss the president.
Hey, hold it, Earl. I'm coming down to lunch.
Too late, Lee.
Look, well, send it back up for me, will you, Earl?
Sure.
Ladies work around here. All right, you go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah, okay, come on, sit with me.
Wait, look at this.
From up there. Up there! I just saw a gun in that window! A gun! Ricochet! They must have been firing over by that knoll. Just stay down!
That's where he's shooting!
Where?
Down there! Behind the bushes! Down there!
Down there! Up there! You! Hold there right there! Now you move this way. Easy, easy.
That's all right, officer. I'm with the Secret Service. Here's my identification.
I'm sorry, sir, but we had to check.
That's all right. I'm checking this area. Better get back down and check the street.
Right.
Who are you? Jim Neely. I'm the plant foreman.
Which way the route?
Through there.
I think it's where the shots came from. You! Come here. This man work here?
Yes.
Okay.
President got shot?
I think it came from behind the grassy knoll. Oh, my God. Two shots.
Connolly got shot. Did you call him? Got you?
Where? Were you here? No, I didn't see it. I think it was the president. Where did they come from? Who got shot?
Shots came from up there. Up there.
Y'all look everywhere now. Look high, look low. That's it, Owen. Keep on looking. Look everywhere in them rafters. Got to find that gun. We found them 3 shell cases. Got to be a gun here somewhere. Now you keep looking till we find it.
Rock, you work here? Yes, sir. Did you see anybody? That is, anybody who's not supposed to be around here?
No, sir. I see no one.
There's the chief. Chief! Oh, I got to talk to the chief. I got to tell him.
This Mr. Navy, Chief.
All right.
Hold it down.
Here, Chief.
All right. Hold it down now. Who was the first man was here?
That is me, Chief. Patrolman Sanders.
Well,
The kid said he saw shots from the roof.
Well, just tell me what you got. Did you find anything? A gun? Fritz, did you find a gun? No, sir. Not yet. Well, I want everybody who was here questioned and clear out the rest. Yes, sir. But the FBI and the Secret Service guys have already questioned him.
Well, I don't give a blind hoot what the FBI has done. This is a Dallas police case. That's the way it's going to stay.
You mean the spectators shot a movie of the whole thing? When? Where? Look, I don't care what it takes. Get that film into a lab, and I mean fast.
Now, what the hell is all that about, and where are you going?
Oh, just getting out of your way, Chief. I can see you got things well under control. Okay, did you get that? Right. Get that film into a lab. Done immediately.
Meanwhile, there have been no further reports from Parkland Hospital, where the stricken president was taken immediately after the shooting. He is, as far as is known, still in trauma room number 1, where a team of surgeons and specialists have been working frantically to save his life. Other than the initial statement that the president's wounds were massive and critical, no further word on his condition has been released. The FBI has called in all available agents to work on the case, and of course, the Dallas Police Department is using all of its own personnel that can be spared. And we understand from one of our field correspondents who was able to talk to a police official that as yet, no suspect or suspects have been formally identified. However, such a development is expected momentarily.
Oh, Mr. Lee,
There are,
isn't
of
it
course,
terrible?
continuing rumors about where the fatal shots came from. A report from one of our correspondents at the scene of the attempted assassination in Dealey Plaza reports that a particular grassy area near the Parkway overpass and the upper floors of the school book depository building have been sealed off, while police continue to search for a weapon or weapons.
How much longer now?
It's going to be a few minutes, unless you want blank film.
Oh, you want to make jokes. You come up with blank film, and I'll personally see you end up rotting on Alcatraz.
Take it easy. This could be the only visual ID we've got. Let's not blow it.
This is not the Secret Service anymore. This is the FBI, and I'm the agent in charge.
What do you think got shot? Some hot wire punk you can pad out your statistics with?
Let's get something straight. It's FBI now. If you don't like it, get out.
Don't press it, de Blasio. Want to call Hoover? Go ahead. I'll call Bobby. We'll see who stays.
All right. Listen, we're not getting anywhere. How many men do you have on it now?
How many? Everyone that's not blind, crippled, or dead. Look, if there's a conspiracy here, there could be one in Washington, too. With practically the whole cabinet stuck in a 707 somewhere out of the Pacific Ocean.
You really think that could have something to do with it, don't you?
I don't know. I mean, all I know is there could be rifles lined up right now on Bobby or on the president when they swear him in. Anything could pop.
I wouldn't worry about that. It was just one man.
Oh, yeah? What makes you so sure?
Just a guess.
You willing to risk the president's life on that?
I thought that was your job this morning.
Oh, yeah, why didn't you claim this FBI and what was happening? Or maybe they did. Maybe that explains a lot of things.
Benson, go phone the Bureau. See if anything's coming in. Go on. How the hell much longer now?
Look, it's going as fast as it'll go. When it gets through the drying stage here, I'll give it to you, okay?
What do you got?
Dallas police. They want in.
No, nobody gets in. Nobody sees anything until after we do. Keep them out. I don't care how you do it.
You want me to shoot them?
Use your own best judgment.
I'm telling you, we're covered. I've got a man going to Parkland. I've got a man going to the county. I've got
No, Johnson wasn't shot on the way to Lovefield.
As you can see here, the police are trying to control the crowd of grief-stricken people still waiting outside of Parkland Hospital. The word of the president.
Captain Fritz is in charge.
Mrs. Kennedy is believed to be in a nearby room here in the hospital. There's been no word released as to the whereabouts at this moment of Vice President Johnson, and it's presumed that... Wait a moment. We're switching live now to Parkland Hospital. Dr. Malcolm Perry has just entered the room, and we understand we'll make a statement to the press.
Attention all squads. Any telephone truck en route to Parkland. Code 3. Give them the way in. Identity contacts. 15. Yes, disregard. I have someone there now.
I got it! I got it!
I'll bet it matches the shell cases we found under the window.
We'll take it over from here.
What kind of gun is it?
Looks like a Mauser bolt action.
Get down to the lab. Where's the foreman?
Here. I've checked everybody, and it looks like 3 of my men are gone. Robert Manton, Lee Oswald, and Joshua Gowans. But he only works part hours, so I'm not sure if he was on shift today.
Here, run a make on them, find out who they are and where they are. All right, men, keep on looking. We ain't done yet. We ain't never done.
According to a spokesman for the governor. This is WFAA Radio in Dallas. Meanwhile, in an apparently unrelated incident, a Dallas police officer, J.D. Tippett, has been shot and killed in the Oak Cliff section. The man suspected of killing Officer Tippett, described by witnesses as white, medium build, about 30, and wearing a windbreaker jacket that was found 2 blocks away from the scene of the crime. An all points bulletin's been issued for it.
Better call the police. Right away.
What is this? Baby pictures. Some kid he must have photographed. Wait a minute.
Here it is.
Here it is. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Picture's perfect.
No.
Is that a shot? Yes, that's the first shot. I don't believe it.
There! That one must have come from somewhere over here. Rerun that.
Nobody move. All of you stay where you are.
What's going on? An officer named Tippett's just been killed.
You think the guy who did it's here?
That's him. Right there. Get up.
Well, it's all over now.
Get his gun. Get it.
All right. You saw him. I'm not resisting. You're all witnesses. If they kill me, you're all witnesses.
Howdy, boys.
Captain, got anything to say? Is it true the shots came from the school book depository?
We hear a gun.
Hi, Russell.
Have you traced the owner?
All right, excuse me.
The FBI, Secret Service. Who's in charge of the case? Hey, Captain, how about answering our question?
Come on, Captain.
Sergeant Harris,
What is it, Captain?
got a possible lead on the assassination. The guy who works the book depository. Looks like he skipped. His name's Lee Oswald. We got an address on him out in Irving. I want you to pick up a warrant and go out there and pick him up.
Just a minute. Captain, I think we pretty well got that in hand.
What's that?
Come here, I'll show you.
Right here.
There, okay, that's number one. That's number one. Now, there's Conley. There's Conley. All right.
The head went forward.
The head, the back brace on. He's got the back brace.
No, Don, they couldn't have
Please run it.
All right, that's
Okay,
two.
okay, here.
That's two.
Hold it. Hold it. They got him. They just released it to the press.
Who?
Some guy who was living in Russia. The Dallas cops claim that he's the one that did it.
What's his name?
Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's married to a Russian citizen.
He's down there right now.
Why?
Right, they got him on another charge.
What charge?
He killed a cop.
A cop?
That's right.
Does
That's all.
she have a record?
I don't know.
Do you have a statement to make, Lee? Please, what did they ask? Mr. Oswald.
Oswald, did you kill the president?
No, I have not been charged with that. In fact, no one has said anything to me about that. The only thing I know is I've been charged with murdering a policeman. And I do request that someone come forward and offer me legal assistance.
However, many thousands of Japanese have stayed up throughout the night, listening to shortwave radio accounts of the tragedy in Dallas.
Capitol building. At each corner, as you see, is an honor guard member from each of the four. Here in Moscow, Premier Nikita Khrushchev arrived with United Nations Ambassador Andrei Gromyko.
Yeah.
United
Shockwaves
States
have grieved the
Embassy
president.
at 8 this
Action
morning.
at the elevator.
The young president was seen in a special light here as someone who represented a break with the past, and in particular with the Cold War fear of annihilation by...
Who are those people?
Are they witnesses?
The young one's Oswald's wife. The nurse is his mother. Give him room, please. When did you last see your son, Miss Oswald?
Have you talked to him?
When was the last time you saw him?
He's innocent. My son never killed anyone. Ask the government. Ask them in Washington. They know all about it.
Ask who in Washington?
How do you know that? How do you know that?
I know because I'm his mother. That's how I know. They're the ones who took him away from me and sent him off to Russia. The government, they're the ones that made him work for them. That's who. Go ahead. Ask them in Washington.
That's enough. That's enough. Come on, back off. Back off. Give him room. Over there, please.
Just a moment, please.
This way. Through that door. Right over there. Ladies, be seated. Right there.
No, I didn't plan that. I didn't plan
Not
anything.
now. Look, you better see him.
You mean you shot the president without any plan? Now, is that what
Take
you...
him into one of the interrogating rooms. I'll
No,
try not
I
to
did
cap him
not
up.
shoot
They're
the
in the room
president.
next door. Okay.
No.
No, I did not shoot the president. I don't know anything about it. I told you I was in the lunchroom when it happened, so how could I have shot him?
For the third time, son. 3 witnesses saw you shooting from a 6th-floor window.
Well, maybe they saw somebody, not me. I was in the lunchroom eating when it happened. Ed Barnes and Sam Joseph, they were there at the same time I was. I saw them leave the lunchroom. Ask them.
We just did. They didn't see you in the lunchroom.
Well, I saw them. If I hadn't, how would I know it was them?
Easy.
Answer me that, why don't you, Captain?
Part of a cover plan, trying to set up an alibi.
I don't need an alibi.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't do anything. I didn't have a plan. I didn't kill anybody.
If you didn't plan to kill the president, then why did you bring a rifle to work with you?
I didn't. I don't have a rifle. How could I bring one to work with me?
That's a rifle, isn't it? And that's you holding it, isn't it?
No.
What do you mean, no? That's you. That's your face.
I worked in a photo plant. I know how you can fake pictures. It's my head on somebody else's body.
You still insist this is part of a cover-up? That we're making this whole thing up?
I don't know about you for sure, but I know somebody's trying to railroad me on this.
Are you a communist?
I've never belonged to the Communist Party.
Why'd you go to Russia?
Like Hemingway went to Paris.
Are you going to answer the man's questions, son?
I have never had a communist card. However, I am a Marxist, but not a Marxist-Leninist.
Now, what the hell does that mean?
That means I support any true Marxist society like Cuba.
You think somebody killing the president's going to help Cuba?
No, I don't think that. I don't think the policies of this country will change because of what's happened.
Then why did you kill Kennedy?
I didn't. I want it respectfully noted that I have requested a lawyer.
Get someone from the local bar association.
If you didn't kill anybody, what do you need a lawyer for? What's that smile for? You're pretty sure of yourself, aren't you?
Benton, FBI.
I don't want anything to do with him. I will answer no questions from him.
You're not exactly in a position to be making the rules.
And we know you went down to Mexico City last month to get a visa to go to Russia and Cuba. Why?
Ask him. He can tell you anything you want to know about it, right?
I want you to tell me.
I respectfully request the right to counsel.
I've said you can have any lawyer you want.
There's the gun. There's the gun. Where did you find it?
No comment.
Has Oswald admitted it's his gun? Is his fingerprints on it? Any comments?
No comments. I'm sorry.
Admitted it's his gun.
Are the fingerprints there? Are the prints on the gun?
Here it is, boys. Huh? Now, Mr. Oswald.
Did you get fingerprints on the gun? Anything else?
No. Wait a minute now, boys. I can't answer all your questions. All I can tell you is what we know for sure. Now, there's no need for Oswald to confess. We got plenty enough evidence to prove he's guilty as hell. Got fingerprints, eyewitnesses saw him do it, documents traced it back to him without any doubt.
Why'd he do it? What was his motive, Chief?
Well, hell, we found communist propaganda in his room, and now you figure that one out for yourself.
When can we see him?
Well, you don't worry none. I'm going to let you know every move we make with him.
No, I have not guilty of anything, and I have requested a lawyer for legal assistance because I'm being framed here.
Did you kill the president?
I didn't kill anyone. I don't know anything about it except that I'm a patsy.
What happened to your eye?
A policeman hit me. Get your hands off me. You are violating my civil rights. I have a right to counsel.
All right, stand up straight. Give your name, your present employment, your present place of employment, one at a time. All right, begin.
John Jones, salesman, Jorgen's Company.
Lee Harvey Oswald, clerk, Texas Book Depository.
That's him.
Michael
Number
Redbond,
2, that's him.
magazine salesman.
I saw him walking away from the book
Private
depository. I recognized him right after I saw him on TV.
Salesman, Harvard Street Flooring Company.
Well, Mr. Brandon, do you recognize anybody up there?
David Fedley, unemployed.
ты себя чувствуешь хорошо?
I'm all right. Don't worry about me.
I don't know. Что я должен делать, Ли?
Nothing. Don't do anything yet. You can always take the children and go back home to Russia.
А что ты?
Nothing's gonna happen to me.
But how can you know that, Lee?
Because I know it.
Man, this has got very long to wait. Not very long to wait now. All right, man, can I have your attention, please?
What time's he going to be moved?
They're bringing him down from the cell right now, just like I promised you. Now, that car is the car we're going to transfer him in. If you'll just be patient, we'll have him here for you.
Okay, stand back, guys. Fish coming.
Wearing a black sweater.
Thank you.
Moving
Okay.
toward a car. He's lit up for you. He's lit up by Captain Fritz. And here he comes. Mr. Oswald, do you have anything to say in your defense?
What are you going to get for a lawyer, Mr. Oswald?
Okay, now, he's being led to his car, and he will be taken to the county jail, where he will await arraignment and trial for the murder of President John F. Kennedy.
Lee Harvey Oswald's trial now follows.
Hey, wait a second.
Pardon me, sir. Who are you, sir? Where are you going there?
Okay, you know who I am, and I know who you are. Take my word for it, I've checked. I'm sure there are a few noses out of joint, so if anybody wants to get off, just say the word and I'll drop the ladder. Okay, that's square one. This is where we start. And I don't want anyone thinking this is an easy case. Number one, Oswald may have the best, one of the two best trial lawyers in the country. Two, there's a pile of evidence, and practically all of it was mishandled. The police screwed up, the FBI screwed up, and the Justice Department screwed up so bad that they've already severed the Tippit case from us. And three, the whole case is wrapped around Oswald. One man and one man alone, and right now that swallows hard.
But that... I'm sorry. I don't know what you want us to call you.
Your Eminence would be all right?
Oh.
Kip. It's a long, dumb story from childhood, but that's what I answered to.
Okay, Kip. We've looked on the conspiracy route.
But look with a searchlight this time.
Sure. But what conspiracy? Who?
I don't know. The communists, the Ku Klux Klan, the Mafia. Otherwise, you're telling me that a poor schlub who couldn't even hold a job was capable of meticulously planning a presidential assassination? Then what have you got? A known defector who was on at least half a dozen surveillance lists, and he acts alone, without cover, without help?
My details check that back and forth. Where he lived, who he talked to, what he lived on. Nothing. It's a dead-end street.
Who are you? You're Chief Investigator, Mr. Gerard?
Lieutenant Gerard. Yes, sir.
Any acquaintances on the Dallas police force?
Strictly Houston PD, detached. If I had any friends on the Dallas force, I wouldn't even be here.
Believe it. All right, Mr. Kleist. Convince me.
Have you read the psychological profile on Oswald?
Sure. And when I was in second-year law, I read about a manic depressive schizoid who turned out to be Abraham Lincoln. So Oswald got hassled for truancy when he was a kid, got pulled in on a misdemeanor disturbing the peace when he was in New Orleans. What kind of criminal psychotic behavior is that? Where's the irrational behavior? The threatening letters? The attempted assaults? Where is the potential for individual conscious violence?
I think some of it's right here. When he was in the Marine Corps in Japan, he was court-martialed for abusive behavior to a non-com and possession and discharge of an unauthorized private weapon. So he only shot himself fooling around with it, but the potential is right there.
I don't know. Spends 2 weeks in a brig where he studies Russian. A few months later, he's on his way home without a mark on his discharge papers.
Here he comes. Here comes Oswald's lawyer. Is it true, Mr. Weldon, that you're getting $200,000 for representing Oswald? Is that true? How about, do you think he needs a commie lawyer from back east? What's wrong with attorney from Canada? Are you representing the establishment on this?
Mr. Weldon, are you Jewish?
Mr. Weldon, where are you from?
Are you Jewish, Mr.
You know Oswald before this?
About payoffs and cover-ups. You don't want people to question you.
Answer these questions. Who are you representing?
Gentlemen, we rich Eastern Communist Jew wasp establishment types have a little trick we picked up from old John Wayne movies. Always face your man before you're to draw on him. Now, does anyone want to repeat that last question?
That'll be right outside the door. Just press the buzzer here when you want him to let you out. Thank you.
That's probably where they'd put it, inside the buzzer.
What?
What do you think? A bug, of course.
You're very suspicious.
Shouldn't I be? Shouldn't my lawyer be, too?
Oh, you've decided on me then? Why? You've rejected a dozen others.
Maybe for the same reason you're taking the case.
The only reason I'm here is because of direct and persistent pressure from the White House.
That's exactly what I mean. You married?
Yes, why?
No reason. Kids?
Son at college.
Princeton. Maybe Yale.
Harvard Law School. But I suspect you already knew that. And his name. And everything else about me.
Well, maybe I thought I should know as much about you as them.
Them? Let me clarify it for you once again. If you think there's an arrangement with the White House, you're wrong. Very wrong.
No, I don't think they sent you to get me off or even to keep me from going to trial, ultimately.
They? Them? Who's that supposed to be?
How long before they can put me on trial?
New prosecutor, hearings, pre-trial motions. But essentially depends on how you plead.
I'm innocent.
I didn't ask you if you were guilty or innocent, just how you want to plead. Now, there are various possibilities. For example,
I told you, I'm innocent.
If you intend to plead innocent, then the only defense we have right now is to dispute each and every piece of evidence a prosecutor presents. Unless there is something more you want to tell me. Is there? Is there? If there is something more, it's my job to try to find it out, with your cooperation or without it. You understand?
Wait.
One more moment. I'll ring. Well, what is it?
Do you think I'm guilty? Do you think I did it?
That's up to a court and jury to decide. But I must warn you, on the present evidence, any court and jury would probably decide that you did it, and you did it alone.
I'm not asking them, I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Well, it's so obvious. For one thing, I wasn't a bit sick. But they pretended that was the reason they gave him a discharge so sudden. And knowing all along that he was going to leave almost as soon as he got home and go straight to Russia. Because if they didn't know that, then tell me why they signed that he could have a passport with a date right on it, stamped right on it. That's why they had him learning Russian and secret codes. Well, it's so obvious, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily in court. Unless Lee told you about any of this, even inferentially.
What Mr. Weldon means.
I know what that means. I'm Lee's mother, so naturally he'd want me to know no matter how much they threatened him. If you want to call it inferentially, it's all right. But he certainly tried to let me know. I mean, after all, I'm his mother.
When did he do that? Try to let you know.
Well, I knew it the minute I saw him. Well, that's why he changed. That's what they were doing with him over there in Japan, training him for all kinds of secret work. There was this ad in the paper about a 2-bedroom apartment, only it wasn't on the ground floor, and I'd rather be on the ground floor. Did you talk to your brother about helping you find a job? Lee, did you hear me? Did you hear what I was saying?
Yes, Mom, I heard you. You said you found a 2-bedroom apartment, but it wasn't on the ground floor?
But about talking to your brother about helping you find a job.
Sir, that too, Mom.
What are you doing with that? Why do you want a suitcase?
I'm leaving.
Leaving? Well, what are you talking about leaving? You just got home 3 days ago. Why are you leaving?
It's about a job, kind of.
Well, what kind of a job?
Well, I can't explain it all to you yet, but anyway, you wouldn't understand the kind of work it is.
But there's something else. There's something you're not telling me. You're still my baby, and I could always tell when you were hiding something. You wouldn't go off and leave me alone like this if there wasn't something else, if someone wasn't making you do it. Is it so secret and important you can't tell your own mother?
Yes, it is.
Lee, now, Lee, wait, Lee. I just want to tell you, you're still my baby, and whatever you do, I still love you.
I know that, Mom.
Mr. Benton, you're familiar with these numbers, right?
Yes, that's my car license and phone number.
Did you give them to Oswald?
No, sir.
Well, you have any theory then of what they were doing in his wallet when he was arrested?
Well, when I interviewed Oswald's wife and the woman she was staying with, Mrs. Havel, I gave them my phone number. I assume they copied down the license number of my car and gave that to him, too.
So, he brooded about it for a couple of days, then he burst into FBI headquarters and left a threatening note. Do you have that note?
I'm sorry, sir, but I'm afraid you're mistaken about that. The director has authorized me to state that there's no record of any such note existing and no record of Lee Harvey Oswald ever being in the Bureau office.
Now, wait a minute. What's going on here? My investigator has a record of it. Witnesses who saw Oswald enter the building your office is in. Now, look, Mr. Benton. We're on the same side, right? All I ever get from Hoover is double talk. There is no record of Oswald ever being a paid informer for the FBI. Well, that doesn't answer the question, but that note of Oswald to the Bureau, I need that note. It may establish a pattern of motivation.
The director has authorized me to state that there is no note existing.
Yes, I know the rest.
Will that be all then, sir?
Yeah, that'll be all.
Think, Kip?
What do you think I think? Smells like month-old fish. No existing record of this, no official report of that. The director has authorized double talk. Now, why the runaround from Hoover? So the FBI files on Oswald were still in New Orleans at the time of the assassination. But the Dallas Bureau knew he'd be back, so they must have had him under surveillance.
Or it could be just the opposite. Orders from Hoover to cover up because the FBI should have had Oswald under surveillance, but didn't.
That's right. That's right. That could explain the non-existent note.
Mm-hmm. You think the Bureau's hiding it?
Oh, no. You don't think the director of the FBI would lie, do you? No. Shredded, maybe, burned, flushed away, but there is no, quote, existing note, unquote. I bet you that's a snow call from Hoover himself.
Yes. It is Washington. Yes, he is, but we... Yes, sir. It's the president.
You mean the president?
The president.
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yes, sir. Robert's here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm working on it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well?
Well, he says when there's water handy to be scooped up, there's no use busting your tail digging a dry well. In dialect or words to that effect.
He thinks Oswald did it alone, right?
I don't know. He didn't tell me what he thought. But he says he was assured there's no conspiracy. No communist conspiracy, no right-wing conspiracy, no left-wing conspiracy, repeat, no conspiracy, and it wouldn't be good for the country to have that suspicion. Dick, you think Oswald did it alone?
Don't you?
I guess I've just been told what to think.
So this is the witness who saw the ricochet, huh?
Yeah. We blew it up from a piece of movie film. Name's Roger Hilburn. I finally tracked him down. He lives in Evanston outside Chicago. He sells fancy lights. Single.
Why don't you get out of here and get some rest? Come on. Oh, Paul. Paul. You really think there was a conspiracy?
I was a cop for a lot of years before I was a lawyer. It's not just thinking, I can feel it in my gut. There had to be more than one gunman.
All right. 1, 2, 3, a dozen. Can you prove Lee was not one of them?
No, not yet. But I've got other leads. New Orleans, Mexico, the places Lee visited. There's something more back of it. It has to be. You let me look for it my way, and maybe I'll find it.
All right. Paul, you go ahead and look.
Come on, Kip, we're going to be late for another pretrial.
Jim, I want you to give me all the physical evidence. I mean all of it. Even the evidence that was excluded.
You mean without anyone else knowing?
Yeah.
You could be edging a felony.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, can you do it?
No, but I know somebody else who can. And they won't ask questions. Only why?
Because this time I want somebody besides the White House and the FBI to tell me that all the evidence against Oswald is solid.
Okay. But suppose suppose whoever they are tell you just the opposite. What then?
If I find that any of the physical evidence was faked, I hope what I'll do is tell the court and Weldon and then walk off the case.
Just the physical evidence. Suppose there's something more.
There's always something more.
Yeah.
You just get me the physical evidence. I'll convict you. Let's go.
I finished going over all the translations.
Anything?
No, not really. Pretty much what we expected in the Moscow official stuff. Proper procedures in accordance with Soviet principles, right down to the semantics. There's one thing, though, it's a little different. It's the deposition from his tourist guide in Moscow, Riva Shirkova. It's a little more personal. I think maybe she wrote it herself. I first met the American, Lee Harvey Oswald, when he arrived in Moscow on October 16th, and I was assigned to be his tourist guide. Later, I was informed by the proper state official that his request for Soviet citizenship had been denied and that his tourist visa would not be extended. I was instructed to inform him that he must be ready to leave his hotel to be escorted out of the Soviet Union at precisely 8 o'clock that evening.
I'm shocked. My dreams. I have waited 2 years to become accepted. My fondest dreams are shattered because of a petty official. Somewhere a violin plays as I watch my life whirl away.
Rima. Вызовите госпиталь. Узнайте, почему.
Why did you do this?
So he'd believe me. I want to belong here.
Tak ti vjeruješ mi now.
And now you have to believe me, don't you?
I was not aware of his decision to renounce his American citizenship. And further, I wish to state unreservedly that I did not aid or counsel him in any manner, and that after he was granted work in Minsk, I never saw him again or the Soviet citizen he married.
Подожди, Anna. Anna, подожди! Ma не думали ничего.
Oh,
That girl.
I really didn't notice. Did you think I was watching you?
Yes. Вы танцуете?
Конечно, я танцую. I wouldn't be here if I didn't dance.
Well, would you dance with me?
Oh, but I cannot. I just said no to another boy.
But he went away and I won't.
You are very sure of yourself.
No, I just want to dance with you, but I can wait. Меня зовут Алекс. Как вас зовут?
Marina Prusakova.
Well, now have I waited long enough? Come on.
My shoes! I forgot my shoes.
Well, you can dance without your shoes. I'll show you.
Where are you from?
Fort Worth, Texas, the U.S. of America, the Western Hemisphere, the world, the Milky Way, the universe.
You were expecting us? I called.
Yes. Please, come in.
Thank you.
You can sit down, please.
Thank you.
This is a very nice house.
Thank you. It belongs to a friend of mine.
Now, what shall we call you?
Marina.
Marina. Are you working now, Marina?
I give private lessons to speak Russian.
Now, you realize, of course, that under Texas law, you can't be called upon to testify for or against Lee.
But you want me to say what I know. Nothing. They tell Lee did it. I don't know. He always said good about President Kennedy. But maybe he planned all the time to do what they say. How would I know?
Well, if he planned it, perhaps he told you.
I am not a spy, if that is what you come to ask. So crazy. I studied pharmacy, not to spy.
No, we didn't come to ask anything like that, just about Lee. You must have been very drawn to each other. You were married barely a month after you met, is that right?
Yes. He was very fun, gay, and indifferent. American.
You were happy then?
Oh, yes, very happy. We did everything that month. Go to concerts, plays, movies, picnics, walks, everything. But now it seems so...
You knew when you married him that he planned to come back to America. He had already contacted the Moscow embassy about it.
No, that was after we were married.
Oh, when?
I do not know the date. Only that it was the day the letter come for him about the university.
On the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Woo!
Oh, what pismo diatigale. It looks so official. It's from the Ministry of External Education.
I gave him a chance, but oh no. All I know about is rules and regulations.
Что это, Алекс? Alex, is it something about your university application? Maybe my uncle can help you.
Nitranya, leave it alone.
Alex.
It's nothing. It's just something you wouldn't understand.
How do you know?
Куда ты думаешь идти?
To my uncle's house. I don't have to stay here with you if you don't want me.
Well, go ahead. Go on. You think he's going to take you in? Well, think again. He's one of them. He's a big secret official in the KGB. Only he's afraid to do anything but rubber stamp papers just like the rest of them. Well, go on. Run to him and see what happens. I'll tell you what. He'll send you back just like the last time. Because you're married to me and I'm an American.
I don't have anyone. You hate me and I don't have anyone.
Извини меня. Задействуй руку.
Нет.
Я прошу внимания. I didn't mean to hit you. Come back inside.
There was something I had to tell you after dinner. But now I'm afraid.
Что?
Нет, я боюсь.
Hit me, then we'll be even.
Нет. Это глупо. Anyway, I cannot hit as hard as you.
Then I'll help you. Now tell me.
But not out here.
What is it?
I'm pregnant.
You sure?
You are angry. You said you wanted to have a baby, but you don't, do you?
Yes, I do. I do. It just changes something, that's all. When are you going to have it? When exactly?
How can I know exactly? In February or March?
We can't go till after the baby.
Where?
America?
America? But how?
You don't want to go?
I don't know. I never thought of it before. You never said anything about it before.
Maybe I wasn't sure about it before.
The American embassy, they arranged everything for us. The visas, the money for the trip. America was wonderful. And we were happy until soon after we settled in Fort Worth. Outside forces came into our life.
Local weather. At the airport, sunny 68 degrees at the moment. Expected high 71, low 65. Cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a strong chance of late evening showers. Full release at Old Stanley.
Lee, come on. Come over here.
Dinner is ruined.
So, Perietsky, looks all right to me.
Do you know how long you have been out there? 2 hours. Why don't you tell me?
Tell you what?
Those two men, they were government police, weren't they?
That's right.
What were you talking about?
I told them to leave me the hell alone and to leave you alone, too.
But it's dangerous.
They're nothing. They're just stupid clerks who have to fill out papers to keep their jobs. They believe what they want to believe. All you have to do is figure out what that is and tell it to them.
But if they make trouble about your job, Alex?
Well, it's just temporary anyhow. I made some important contacts, people who speak Russian. I've got plans.
Lee, is that Mr. Van Kuiper coming again tonight, or can we go to a movie? Lee, I'm sorry I said that to you last night. About in bed. It's just that you hardly ever want to make love to me anymore. Why? Is it me, something I've done?
No.
Then why?
You want to now? Right now?
No, oh no! Not just so you can prove something. You're almost late for work. Do you want me to make breakfast?
I quit that job last week.
Why do you have that out? Where are you going?
I got something lined up in Dallas. I don't know where I'll be yet. I'll let you know.
Yeah? Good. Good. That sounds solid. What about the palm print? I don't want to use that kind of backup in court. You sit on it. And I mean sit on it. I don't want any leaks to J. Edgar at this point. If there are, you're going to hear my yelling all the way back to Washington. Okay. Yeah. Good.
I got it. They never should let her talk to me. The snapshot, the rifle, what she remembers Oswald telling her after the attempt on General Walker's life. Maybe not everything she knows, but everything you wanted.
Good. And I mean it. But I don't think we're going to need it. I just had Jim run all the physical evidence through Bobby's man against the FBI and the cops down here, without telling anyone, including you.
And it held up.
Solid! Screw-ups and all! Every shred of evidence points to Oswald, Oswald alone, and nobody else. You may not have noticed, but I was a little worried there. I mean, something like this is not your everyday liquor store holdup. It's the kind of thing where every nut and knee-jerker in the country can start yelling hysteria, lynch, cover-up. Well, no way now. This time I know we're gonna nail that little creep. Now you have doubts.
No, not about the evidence. I never did have. But the rest of it. You know what I mean, Kip?
Sure I do, but that's not our job. Well, you strike what I said before, Oswald and the guy who robs the liquor store. It's the same thing. We have to prove they did it, with the evidence, nothing less. And nothing more either, right?
Right from here, I could see the president's limousine turning right onto the street there.
When did you look over to the grassy knoll area?
Oh, not till after the shots started, then I looked. I knew right away some of them come from there. I even seen some smoke coming from in line of bushes along there.
When you looked toward the grassy knoll, did you notice a young Negro woman, early 20s, with dyed red hair?
No, but then everybody down there was screaming, you know, ducking down out of the way. Well, I mean, me too.
Well, what about before the shooting, then? Did you notice anything unusual?
No. Except a car. A car pulled up behind the knoll. It was a big four-door. First, I couldn't, you know, figure how it got back there, and then I seen it had a bunch of stickers on it, like it was official. But all that happened was a fella got out of it, and then it left again.
Was he carrying anything, the man who got out of the car?
Oh, not that I'd remember. But, like I say, I just seen it out of the corner of my eye, like.
Did he walk toward the grassy knoll? Did you notice?
He could have, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm saying, all I'm sure of is that's where a shot come from that knoll.
Well, you willing to testify to that under oath, Mr. Cabot?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, See, I got a family. I don't want no trouble.
Well, you wouldn't have any choice, really. If I decide to subpoena you, you have to testify.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah, extension 334. Yeah. 3341? Yeah.
Texas.
Okay. Now listen, you will let me know if anything else comes up, Sergeant, huh? Anything.
Oh.
Thanks.
Oh, this stuff will be better the 10th time. What? What's the matter?
You know that witness I was having trouble getting a hold of? Hilburn? The one who saw the ricochet?
Yeah.
The Chicago cops pulled him out of the lake a couple of days ago. No ID on the body, so they had to check it out with prints.
Well, what happened?
They figured he was cruising the wharves and picked up a psycho who stabbed him with an ice pick.
An ice pick?
Yeah. An ice pick. That sounds more like the mob.
Well, it is possible, right?
Oh, yeah. It's possible. Accidents, murders, suicides, they're all possible. The girl who screamed the shots came from there, over there. That colored girl. Anything new on her?
No.
Well, at least we still got him.
Yeah. Come on, Harry. There wasn't even a chance to get a statement from him. He died in the ambulance.
Another accident. There's got to be some way of getting at the real truth.
Oswald.
Now, if Oswald knows everything, he won't tell. If he knows nothing, he can't tell. If he knows only little bits and pieces, he'd be too scared to tell.
Everybody in Dallas is scared, like that Negro prostitute who might have seen someone shooting from the grassy knoll. She may be the key to this case, but I have the distinct impression she doesn't want to be found.
I've been on to Washington, and I'm getting close to a source inside the intelligence community. Somebody that knows things that the president, that Bobby, that even Hoover doesn't know. But it doesn't make sense yet. One minute they hand me a lead, I run it down, and it's Cuba. The next minute, it's the CIA.
I don't think the answer is there. I think the answer is right here in Dallas. Where did those shots come from? That's the key.
Not necessarily. The answer could be in the connection between Cuba and the CIA.
I think the secret is in Oswald. If we can find the key to him, we'll be ready for the trial.
How are you this evening?
Fine, thank you, sir.
You like music?
I don't understand it too well.
It's not a problem. You don't have to understand it. You just let it flow into you, that's all.
That's the record you wanted, Borodin?
Yeah, it's not the one for my things. There was a scratch in the second movement where Marina once,
I'm afraid the police impounded all of your things.
It doesn't matter.
That record, is that the one you acted out the arias to in the bathtub with...
Marina told you about things like that?
Oh, just in passing. I wasn't trying to probe.
No. How old is he, your son, the one at law school? Where'd you say, Harvard?
Yes, Harvard. He's 22.
Not much difference, but a lot of difference, right? Think I could have gotten through law school?
Yes.
But you still don't think I can handle my own case?
Well, it's not just knowing everything in the books. It's like music. It's the difference between understanding it and being able to play it.
That's not an answer.
No. I don't think you could handle your own case.
Well, I do.
Well, I tried. But he wasn't much of a help. Ultimately, we're going to need a witness who's seen more than just a puff of smoke or heard a shot. What about that young Negro woman? Claims she saw a man with a rifle in the bushes, doesn't she?
Yes, I don't know. Some of the others on the grassy knoll said she said something like that.
Well, if she did, if she saw anything, we've got to find her.
Yeah, we haven't had any luck so far, but young Negro henna here, we're bound to find her.
I hope so.
Are you going to put Oswald on the stand?
You don't expect me to answer that question, boys. No comment.
No.
Come on, Mr. Weldon, give us an interview. When is Oswald arriving? Is this another closed hearing, Mr. Weldon?
Yes, it is. And I'm closing this one, too. Sorry, gentlemen.
Mr. Weldon, please, Mr. Weldon. Mr. Weldon.
Kip, checking the gray.
Oh, just trying to make sure there's no boyish charm left. Judges hate that.
Well, it's still pre-trial. You ought to save it for the jury.
Oh, I'm saving a lot of things for the jury.
Not if I win my dismissal now.
No way. Whatever else, the evidence is solid.
Whatever else. Doubts, Kip?
What?
Doubts?
Oh, don't tell me you don't have any doubts.
Nope.
Oh, come on, man. Who are you trying to kid? You're going to have a lot more than I happen to know you have. That is, if you're going to try to prove that Oswald didn't do it.
You coming?
Yeah. Kip? Kip?
I would like to be able to...
You got things a little mixed up, haven't you, Kip?
How's that?
Well, the way I learned criminal law, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. All I have to show is reasonable doubt.
Yeah, but you're talking law, not reality.
Testify, Mr. Oswald. Mr. Oswald, who's going to go defense?
Is your wife going to testify?
You didn't claim you didn't own a gun, Mr. Oswald? Were you part of a conspiracy? Mr. Oswald, did anyone help you kill the president? You claim you don't own one? Mr. Oswald, did anyone help you kill the president? You claim you don't?
All rise, please. The court is now in session. Be seated.
All right, Mr. Weldon, I am prepared now to listen to your arguments for dismissal on the grounds of insufficient evidence. Briefly.
I don't think I'll need to be more than brief, Your Honor. None of the evidence the state proposes to bring forth directly links the defendant to the crime with which he's charged. No reliable eyewitness testimony will be adduced to identify the defendant as having fired shots at President Kennedy or even being in a moment and place from which the shots were fired. Now, the prosecution proposes to claim that all the shots were fired from the 6th floor of the Texas State School Book Depository building, an assumption the defense will challenge. And yet, the state can offer only the flimsiest circumstantial evidence to place the defendant there.
Pardon me, Mr. Weldon, but as I read your summary of the state's presentation, page 47, Mr. James Neely, the superintendent of the building, will swear that the defendant ordinarily and customarily worked on the 6th floor. and that in the presence of a police officer, he encountered the defendant on the premises in the lunchroom approximately a minute and a half after the assassination shots, and that of his own knowledge, it would be possible to come down the stairs to the lunchroom in that space of time. Now, I'll grant that's circumstantial, but I don't know as I'd call it flimsy.
Further, Your Honor, as to the means and commission of the crime charged to the defendant, even accepting that the fatal shots were each and all fired from the rifle which the state proposes to produce in evidence, a contention the defense is not prepared to accept, the state still cannot offer any admissible physical evidence to show that the rifle was fired by the defendant or was even in his possession.
Mr. Weldon, you don't intend to deny that this rifle was linked to the defendant and, in fact, was owned by him?
We're willing to stipulate, Your Honor, that at one time, this rifle or a similar rifle did belong to the defendant, but that in no way proves that he was in possession of it at the time of the assassination.
No, I don't stipulate to that.
It's only a technical point. They can prove you owned the rifle. They can't prove you used it.
I don't know anything about a rifle. I never had a rifle.
The defendant will be seated.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to move to dismiss my counsel and hereafter act as my own attorney, and I so request of the court.
Denied. Now sit down.
Your Honor, I respectfully believe I have the right to the best possible defense, and I do not feel...
And I intend to see that you have just that, even if it means you have to be gagged and physically restrained.
Your Honor?
Do you understand me? You will answer the court's question. Remove the defendant from the courtroom. Motion to dismiss denied.
What happened in there, Mr. Oswald?
What did the judge say, Mr. Oswald?
Make a statement. Please give us a statement.
Your Honor, in light of the defendant's statements, I prepare to withdraw as counsel.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weldon. I fully understand your reluctance to proceed. I cannot allow you to withdraw. However, on the basis of possible personal prejudice, I believe I must remove myself. Further, I am going to reverse, and I now grant the defense request for a change of venue to some other county in the state of Texas where this case may not have received so much pretrial prejudicial publicity. Subject, of course, to review by the Fifth Circuit Court. Court is adjourned.
Your Honor, I respectfully ask.
I said adjourned, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, very slick, Matt. You got your change of venue.
I wasn't looking for it.
What then, a McNaughton?
Kip, you think he's insane?
I sure as hell do not.
Well, neither does he. On the other hand, maybe anybody who'd take this case is insane.
You can insist on withdrawing if you feel that it's morally impossible for you to defend him, if that's what's troubling you.
Yeah, that's not it. I outgrew that with my first ex-murder. Actually, it was a jackhandle. Comes out about the same. Yeah, that's not it.
What is it, then?
I was wondering whether it was morally correct for me to sentence him to an acquittal. Suppose he were freed. How long do you think he'd last? I don't mean days, hours, minutes.
Is that where they used to hang him?
The old scaffold? Yeah. It's been a long time since those days.
You were here even then, weren't you?
Not here. In the prison. Lied about my age and got on as a guard helper, carrying messages and slops.
Now you're the head fry cook.
Oh, it's just a job. I figure you have to go along with what life deals out to you. Now me, I was just so high. Old man run off. You get dumped on your own like that when you're just a kid. Well, it ain't no choose and pick thing, you know.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Your old man run off?
My stepfather. But he's like my real father. I liked him. Taught me how to fish. My own father died before I was born. And my stepfather running off.
Sure. It's none of my business.
Have I got something here, boys? Have I got something here? Have you seen this? Some British reporter said one of that Russian bunch Oswald hung out with knew about the assassination. A fellow named Van Kuiper.
Yeah. We know about him. Jim got right on it.
But this report says some group killed Kennedy, and he's got the names to prove
There's
it.
nothing to that. That British reporter's a con man. He's just trying to peddle one more hot rumor.
Maybe President Johnson should tell him what he told us, that there's no water in that well. Although I'm sure that wouldn't keep Weldon from wasting his time.
I hope not.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Lee, your lawyer's in.
Interrupted my card game.
Why didn't you tell me about Mr. Van Kuiper? Now, you must know something about him. He's godfather to your second child. He visited your home. You went to meetings with him.
Who told you that, Marina?
She didn't have to. My investigating team has been asking questions about Mr. Van Kuiper.
You looking for him?
Yes, and so is the prosecution. One of us will get to him first. Could his testimony be of damage to you?
No, nothing you'd say would be a problem.
You sure? Even if he testified that he saw you with a rifle and that he asked you about it? Lee.
Stop looking.
For what?
For anything.
Matt, I think maybe I've located this Van Kuiper in a sanitarium somewhere near Miami.
Get the next plane, Paul. Find out what he knows and bring him back, if you can.
Does he know that I'm coming to see him? I mean, that it's me and what I want to talk to him about.
Oh, yes. One of our rules here is that we never misinform or lie to our guests. Especially in the case where one of them believes that certain people or forces are out to harm or find them.
He said that to one of the doctors? That someone was after him?
Well, no, not to one of the doctors. Actually, to one of the other guests. I'm afraid he doesn't entirely trust the staff just yet.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Van Kuiper!
No, I do not think the unexplained accidental deaths of one crucial defense witness after another is normal.
Does that mean you believe the deaths of these witnesses is part of a conspiracy?
I believe there's an explanation for those deaths. I believe someone knows how and why those witnesses died, and I intend to do everything in my power to uncover those reasons.
But if you don't find out, can you prove Oswald's innocent?
I don't have to prove that. The law and the U.S. Constitution happen to be very clear. Lee Harvey Oswald is innocent, and only a jury can make any other judgment.
I am not guilty believe anything, and I have requested a lawyer for legal assistance because I am being framed here.
Did you kill the president? The Oswald case reached an important milestone today. A jury was finally selected, 7 men and 5 women, after 3 weeks of questioning. The trial of the century is the way the world's press is describing the case, and it will all take place in one of the smallest towns in Texas after a change of venue motion moved it from Dallas. If Oswald did pull the trigger, did he act alone, or was he knowingly or unknowingly part of a conspiracy? These are 2 of the questions the trial is expected to answer. So tomorrow, Oswald will again be taken from his specially constructed isolation cell in the Dallas County Jail, and this time his trial for the murder of President Kennedy will begin in earnest with the opening statement by Special Prosecutor Anson Roberts.
There are hundreds of people waiting outside the courthouse here to catch a glimpse of Oswald as he arrives for the opening of this trial. I think this may be... Yes, here he comes now. He's in the back of that car, I think. The car in the middle. Oswald himself is probably in chains and handcuffs.
Mr. Oswald,
No,
you still
not
think you can
chains,
get a fair
but
trial
he's
in Texas,
handcuffed.
sir, even with the change of venue?
How do you feel? Are you confident?
What? Are you satisfied the way the trial's going?
I will be if justice is done.
You mean if you're acquitted?
I said if justice is done. That's what this country's supposed to stand for, isn't it?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we'll reserve any and all questions for the trial, please. Thank you.
Defense, Mr. Weldon.
You weren't listening too carefully. I just made a statement for the defense.
Mr. Oswald, you still maintain your innocence that you did not assassinate President Kennedy.
That's right. I'm innocent.
Thank you very much.
Just a few. Lee?
Mr. Oswald? Mr. Oswald?
Lee. Mr. Oswald? Lee, what about a gun, Lee? Do you own a gun?
I never had a gun.
Mr. Oswald!
Oh, we've seen pictures of you with a gun, Lee.
Yeah, well, the pictures are fake.
Please, no more questions.
What about your family, Lee? How are they holding up? Where's Marina?
Marie's with the children where she should be.
Lee, your mother says you work for the FBI. What about that?
Yeah, well, you'll have to ask my mother about that.
And in addition, by an overwhelming preponderance of evidence, the state will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the rifle which fired the fatal shots from the 6th floor of the school book depository building belonged to the defendant. That he carried it secretly into the building the morning of the crime, and that he, and he alone, fired the shots that killed President John F. Kennedy. Now I want you to look at this man as though you'd never heard of him before. Never seen his face. Never known of his existence. Now, you've all sworn to judge without bias or preconception. I respect that oath, and I'm sure each of you does. I want you to judge on the facts we set before you. His propensity for violence, his total hostility to all authority, his extremist political views and actions. I want you to weigh the evidence that he left the scene of the crime in an obvious attempt to flee, and that when he was apprehended, he was in possession of a pistol which had been fired.
Objection. The state is trying to...
Just a moment, Mr. Weldon. I don't intend to be dogged into a mistrial before the opening statements are finished. Bailiff will see that the jury is removed. Counsel will please approach the bench.
Your Honor.
Mr. Weldon, there's no need for a speech for the record. The jury's not going to hear it.
Your Honor, it has been ruled and sustained that the murder of Police Officer Tippett is to be severed in all and every particular from this case. The state cannot be allowed now to drag the Tippett murder case in by the back door to show motivation after the fact.
Your Honor, it was defense counsel who first used the name Tippett, not the prosecution. The state has a right to show that the defendant fled from the scene of a crime, that he armed himself with a deadly weapon, that he violently...
Mr. Roberts, I've already reminded Mr. Weldon that the jury is not here.
Yes, Your Honor, but I'm sure the bench is aware that under the accepted rules of adversary procedure, it is incumbent on the prosecution...
Mr. Roberts, I do not require a lecture on criminal law. This for your ears too, Mr. Weldon. Now, I know you both think I talk funny. Well, that's all right. I won't tell you what I think. But on the well-known principle that a cow that can talk is still a cow, a judge from west of the Pecos is still a judge. On the question raised, I will reserve judgment. Now, if you would care to resume your opening statements, I'll call back the jury and we'll see if we can get this trial underway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Recall the jury, please.
Where were you standing?
I was there in front of a sort of railing.
In other words, you were at a spot directly across from the Texas School Book Depository. Would you show the jury that again?
Well, I was there like I showed you on the map with everybody else watching the president go by. The first shot, I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was a backfire or something. But after the second shot, I looked up across the street towards the book building, and that's when I saw it. I saw a man up there aiming a rifle through the window. Real steady, just like on a target range. And I saw him fire it.
From which window in that building did you see that man fire from?
Right here on the 6th floor near the corner.
In other words, the window from which previous witnesses have testified that they noticed a rifle or a rifle-like object. Now, Mr. Brandon, in that terrible moment, was there the slightest doubt in your mind that the man you saw in that window was aiming, in fact, firing a rifle at the President of the United States?
No, sir. That's exactly what I saw.
You may be seated, Mr. Brandon. Of course, there was confusion, even panic. But did you, as soon as possible, seek out a police officer, P.R. Hopper, and give him a description of the man you saw firing from that window?
Well, I don't remember the police officer's name, but yes, sir, that's exactly what I did.
And did your description prove to match, essentially, that of the defendant? Young, medium height, light complexion?
Yes, sir, it sure did.
And were you subsequently able to identify the man you saw shooting a rifle at the President?
Yes, sir.
And now, here in this courtroom, do you see the man whom you saw firing a rifle at the President?
Yes, sir.
Would you point him out, please? Let the record show that the witness is pointing to the defendant. Thank you.
Yes. Young, white, medium build, light complexion. Mr. Brandon, how many men do you suppose in Dallas, Texas would match that description?
Am I supposed to know that?
Oh, perhaps not. So let me narrow it down for you. How many men here now in this courtroom would you say match that description? Well, then let me take a guess at it. Yes, this juror here in the front row, and this one in the back row. Wouldn't you agree? And of course, the court stenographer essentially matches the description.
Don't forget the defendant. He matches it, too.
And so do you, Mr. Brandon, so do you. I'd say you match it fully as well as he does.
Maybe. But he's the one I saw.
Then why couldn't you identify the defendant as the man you claim you saw firing?
I did. I went to the police and the FBI.
Mr. Brandon, you were shown the defendant in a police lineup the day of the assassination. Am I correct?
Yes.
And in that lineup, did you fail to identify the defendant as the man you say you saw firing a rifle?
No, communist and all. I was scared, but later I went...
Oh, yes, later, almost a full month later, after the defendant's face had been on television constantly. Mr. Brandon, I will ask you again. At that police lineup, did you identify the defendant, just yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Brandon, you said you were frightened to speak out, and I'm sure the jury understands that. But you did come forward voluntarily and positively identify the defendant as the man you saw firing at the President, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, did you have any doubt at that time that Lee Harvey Oswald was the man you saw firing from the 6th floor?
Oh, no, sir.
Do you have any doubt now that the defendant is the man you saw?
No, sir.
You can see he's lying the same as the rest of them. They put my son up to it.
I don't want to keep warning you, Miss Oswald. No talking.
In your position as chief of pathology, you have performed and studied many, in fact, thousands of autopsies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Mullen, you studied the photographs and reports of the autopsy of President Kennedy. On the basis of that, is it your expert belief that 2 and only 2 shots struck the President, and that both shots produced rear entry wounds, and that the nature of those wounds dictate that both shots were fired from behind the President?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
You do realize, of course, that there are other experts who disagree with your findings, Dr. Mullen?
Yes, sir, I'm aware of that.
Then, in your expert opinion, Mr. Carmichael, Professor Carmichael, this money order for the purchase of a rifle and signed by A. Haddell was, in fact, in the writing of the defendant, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yes, sir, without any doubt whatsoever.
In other words, this rifle, a Mannlicher Carcano, made in Italy, serial number 2766, which previous testimony and evidence indicate was purchased and sent to A. Haddell, was in fact purchased by and sent to the same man who wrote that order, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Your witness.
No questions.
You may step down. Call your next witness, please.
That's just mumbo-jumbo. Why aren't you challenging him?
Because not one single handwriting expert would testify for us. They can prove you owned the rifle. That doesn't prove you used it.
Mr. Melvin Johnson to the stand, please.
Mr. Johnson, where were you at 12:30 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963?
I was right there on the 5th floor looking out.
And you recognized and identified the figure in this window as being yourself?
Yeah, that's me. Right where I said.
Would you just tell us what you saw and heard that day?
You mean about the shooting?
Yes.
Well, what I heard is shots right over my head on the 6th floor. And empty shells dropping down on the floor up above. I saw what happened to the president. Me and the others just started to run out of the building. I guess we got scared just like everybody else.
And was there any doubt then or now that you heard shots from this window on the 6th floor?
No, sir. They were shots. I heard them. That's where they come from.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
This is you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, you don't claim to have heard or seen anyone on the floor above, do you?
No.
Then you don't really claim to know that the shots that you heard, the rifle shots that everyone heard, came from the floor above. They might easily have been merely echoes, couldn't they?
Not the rifle shells dropping on the floor. That was right over my head.
You mean shells make a distinctive, precise sound? Would you describe them to us?
Well, like rifle shells dropping on the floor. Plop. Click.
Plop, click, plop, click. You mean, like this? Or, like this? Or, like this? Or, like this? Well?
I guess so, yeah.
Would you tell me what that was, Mr. Johnson?
I don't know. I couldn't see it.
I know. But you heard it. And suppose I were to tell you, Mr. Johnson, that what you heard dropping just then was an empty rifle shell.
Well, even if it was, it wouldn't prove nothing.
I know. That's all.
I don't care. I know what I heard over my head, and it was rifle shells.
Would Your Honor kindly ask the witness to step down without further comment?
The witness will step down.
Maybe you got tricks to mix me up.
Mr. Johnson?
But that don't change nothing.
Mr. Johnson?
I heard what I heard.
Mr. Johnson?
I heard what I heard.
One more word and I will hold you in contempt. Court will reconvene Monday morning, 10 a.m.
Ти си бил хорошо чувстваш, Марина?
Да, а ти? Ти би нужно что-нибудь? Can I bring something for you?
No, Weldon brought me the record, the Borodine. Remember, Marina? Remember the park? They were playing that in the bandstand. You fixed a picnic lunch, then it rained, all our sandwiches got wet, we ran under a little culvert. Remember, Marina? Ты помнишь это, Marina?
Да, но почему?
Where are June Lee and Rachel?
I did not think I should bring the children here yet because I have been working hard with my English.
What for? What's wrong with talking in Russian?
Oh, but I cannot do other people now.
Then you don't need me, do you?
Wait! Подожди! Wait!
Nothing. Oh, a suicide note, but it didn't say anything. But I'm even more sure now that Ben Kuiper was the key. I can't prove it, but I do know that he had ties to the anti-Castro underground and the CIA. And he went out of his way to cultivate Lee. Now, why? Except to use him for something. And he's dead. Yeah. But there's still plenty more without him. Add it up. The Marines knew Lee was studying Russia, knew his Marxist ideas, cleared him for security, handed him an early discharge, signed a waiver for him to travel out of the country, and next thing you know, he's in Russia. Same thing with the FBI. They had more to do with Lee than they admit. They had constant tabs on him when he came back to Dallas from Mexico City. And 10 days before the assassination, Lee walked into the FBI office here in Dallas and handed a note to one of the agents. Of course, Hoover denies that, but the agent admits that there was a note and that he burned it on instructions.
Why would the FBI destroy evidence?
I don't know. All I'm sure of is that the FBI had ties to him. And not just here in Dallas, in New Orleans, too. I've got an affidavit from a New Orleans cop. Lee's moves down there were very contradictory. One day he's anti-Castro, the next day he's handing out pro-Castro leaflets. The leaflets were printed by the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which had a membership of one, a certain A.J. Hidell, alias Lee Harvey Oswald.
Sir, like one of these? Hands off Cuba. It's for Fair Play for Cuba. Hands off Cuba, Fair Play for Cuba. Madam, like to read about this?
Traidor, nos traicionaste.
Come on.
Infeliz.
Hey, you saw it. You're a witness. I didn't start it.
Hey, you. Yeah, you coming.
You let me out now?
Do I look like I am?
Where's the agent?
Now, you fuss to talk to a Fed, but you better talk to me. Now, you say this A.J. Hidell.
Hidell.
What?
A.J. Hidell.
Hidell?
Right.
Will vouch for you?
Well, that's right. He's president of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. He'll vouch for me.
But we checked out the address on that A.J. Hidell. Turns out he don't live there.
He must have moved.
Well, I kind of doubt that, since there is no such address. Now, where can he be found?
I told you I wouldn't talk to anybody with an FBI agent.
Turns out your FBI friends in Dallas never heard of you.
I don't think that's all he told you.
You don't. Take him down, let him pay his fine, then process him out of here.
On the morning of the assassination, did you and the defendant drive back to Dallas and report to work in the school book depository building?
Yes, sir.
Was he carrying a package with him?
Yes, sir, in the back seat of the car.
Will you describe that package for us?
It was about so long and so big around, and it was done up in brown wrapping paper and taped down.
Was it a brown paper package like this one, which was found on the 6th floor of the book depository building, and on which there is testimony that the FBI found a palm print and fingerprint of the defendant?
Objection. The witness is being led to a specific conclusion.
I think I will allow it, Mr. Weldon. I don't think it takes an expert to tell if a piece of brown paper looks like a piece of brown wrapping paper. Witness will answer the question.
Yes, sir, that's about what it looked like, what you're holding right there.
Did the package, which the defendant brought in the back seat of your car, look like this one?
Yes, sir, it did.
And you saw the defendant take this package from your car and carry it into the book depository building?
Yes, sir, that's just what I saw.
Thank you. Your witness.
Did Oswald tell you what was in the package?
He said it was curtain rods.
He said it was curtain rods. Now, how did he handle the package? Did he hide it under his coat? What?
He sort of slipped it under his arm and cupped it in his palm. But you could see him carrying it. Anyone could have.
Son, would you mind stepping down and showing us exactly what you mean? Just stand right over there. There you are.
You want me to show you how he carried it into the building?
Yes, so the whole jury can see. That doesn't seem to be the way you described it, does it?
It just doesn't fit.
No. Well, maybe he didn't hold it under here. Oh, maybe he held it over his shoulder the way you're doing now.
No, sir. I remember exactly the way he held it, up under his armpit with his finger around the bottom. I remember because it struck me like a funny way to be carrying something, like you said, as if maybe he was trying to hide it.
Clerk will strike the last part of that statement. Jury will disregard it. Just answer the question. Try not to add anything, huh?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. I didn't know I was doing wrong. I just thought...
It's quite all right. Now, young man, I'd like you to do one more thing for me. You? Would you show us how the defendant carried it, but using this package? Ah, yes. Yes. Now, to your best belief and memory, did the defendant carry the package just like that?
Yes, sir, just like I'm doing now.
Fine, fine. Now, would you open the package for us, Mr. Tessier? And would you tell us what's inside?
Curtain rod, that's what it looks like.
Yes. Curtain rods, as the jury can see.
Just a minute, I object. The defense has no right to try to plant an inference like that in the jury's mind.
Well, Mr. Roberts, this is an adversary proceeding, and although we're run a little bit late, you are free to invoke your right to redirect questioning of the witness if you so wish.
I do so wish.
Oh, Mr. Roberts, I'm awfully sorry. One more question, please. Son, would you please sit down? I was wondering, when the defendant took the package out of the back seat of the car, did you notice anything strange about it? Were there any stains or splotches of some sort on it?
No.
You're absolutely sure there were no stains or marks of any kind on it?
No, sir. It was just wrapped up plain and neat. It looked just like that one. Or that one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tessier. And thank you, Mr. Roberts. The witness is yours now.
Mr. Roberts?
What do you think he's up to?
I think he's just fishing around.
No, not well, then he's about to spring something on us.
Mr. Roberts?
Well, Your Honor, since it's getting late, I'll postpone my questions on redirect.
Hey, well, Monday being a holiday, we'll reconvene Tuesday morning, 10 a.m.
I think I found it. It's buried in an FBI report straight out of Hoover's office. Standard and spectroscopic examination of the rifle in disassembled state showed that the trigger mechanism, while operable, was rusted and worn, etc., etc. All right, look, here. Laboratory analysis further established that the component parts of the weapon, especially those exhibiting patterns of rust corrosion, had been recently and heavily oiled.
Sure, that's what Weldon's after. Right out of Hoover's mouth. Isn't that beautiful? The FBI proves the rifle's covered with oil, and there's not one little stain on the brown paper bag it was wrapped in. Beautiful. If I'm being lied to again and set up, I'm going to kick over the whole apple cart. No matter how many presidents call from Washington telling me to stop digging.
This doesn't prove anything. Obviously, Oswald wrapped the rifle in something before he put it in the paper. Maybe something like cellophane. We can establish that by logical assumption.
Yeah, but where's the cellophane? Well, I want something just as tangible, even if it takes the whole FBI to dig it up, and I want it by tomorrow morning.
You think you pulled a really smart trick with that curtain rod business, don't you? Well, I think it was dumb. All it did was make the jury think about me bringing in a package to work.
I didn't have to make the jury think about it. The prosecution has 3 witnesses who saw you with the package.
So what? They didn't see me with any gun, because I never had a gun. And when I get on the stand, I'm going to tell them just that.
I'm not going to put you on the stand, Lee.
You can't stop me.
Here. Never mind, I know all the precedents. I must tell you, Lee, if you were to go on the stand, you'd open yourself up to cross-examination by the prosecution, which means they'd be able to ask you why you left the scene of the crime, why you went to your room, why you picked up a revolver, why you fired the revolver, why. And the fact is, you haven't given us answers to any of those questions, have you?
Here it is. Report from the FBI lab.
That was quick.
No test can be made to verify contact of rifle with plastic substance or material.
Come on, we're not amateurs. We can still make a logical case out of it being wrapped in plastic. And Weldon can't shoot it down with a scientific test.
Well, he won't have to. Would you kindly take the stand, Lieutenant? That's right. That's right. Now, Lieutenant so-and-so, a recent FBI lab report shows that the rifle, which the state claims the defendant carried into the book depository building, tightly wrapped in a brown paper bag, had been recently and thoroughly oiled. But you didn't find any oil stains on that brown paper bag, did you, Lieutenant?
No, sir, Mr. Weldon, sir.
Surely there would have been at least one tiny little oil stain on that brown paper bag, wouldn't there, Lieutenant?
Not necessarily. Not if he'd wrapped the rifle in something before he put it in the paper bag.
Like what, Lieutenant?
Like a plastic bag of some sort.
Like a plastic bag of some sort. Oh, plastic bag of some sort. I don't seem to see a plastic bag of some sort here on the exhibit table. Lieutenant, could you point it out to me?
Well, there isn't one there. That is, I mean, we didn't find a plastic bag.
You didn't find a plastic bag. There is no such convenient plastic bag on the exhibit table, and your testimony about it is pure speculation. Am I correct?
Your Honor, I object. The witness is an expert. His conclusions are a matter of scientific deduction, not speculation.
Oh, I'm sure the jury would be delighted to know how the state can make scientific deductions about something that was never found.
Same way the defense can make deductions about supposed curtain rods that were never found.
The objection is overruled. Could we move on? I think you've made your point, Mr. Weldon.
Yes, Your Honor, I think I have made my point. No further questions.
Redirect, Mr. Roberts.
Let's return to a piece of evidence that was found at the scene of the crime. Did you test fire this rifle? Did you find it in operable condition?
Yes, sir. It's pretty old, but it works.
But with what degree of accuracy?
We found that it fires slightly high and to the right, causing approximately a 1-inch deviation at 200 feet.
Then it would be fully accurate enough for a hunter to bring down a running deer at, say, 200 feet.
I believe so, yes, sir.
And it is your opinion that a marksman using this rifle could fire at least 3 times in approximately 5.5 seconds and hit a moving target at 200 feet at least 2 out of 3 times?
Что ты делаешь?
Ничего.
Тебе не жарко в этом? Aren't you hot in that?
No.
Ли, ты хочешь...
Нет. Я хочу ничего.
You don't have to shout at me.
Your Honor, before the witness is allowed to answer, I ask to approach the bench.
Mr. Weldon, you're not disputing the witness's status as an expert, are you?
What I'm disputing, Your Honor, is the question itself. Any answer the witness could give would simply be an assumption.
Your Honor, the prosecution is prepared to prove the point by demonstration, if the court approves.
Where?
At the scene of the crime, of course.
Would you agree to this, Mr. Weldon?
Yes. If the defense is accorded the same privilege of demonstration.
.4 seconds, 2 hits.
Well, the prosecution has tried to prove that one man could have fired 3 shots in 5.5 seconds from that window. Lieutenant, as a police officer, you're required to qualify in the police marksmanship range once every 6 months. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What was your last qualification ranking in rifle marksmanship? Not the score, just the ranking. Weren't you, in fact, qualified officially as an expert marksman?
Yes, sir.
Well, let me see. You hit a slowly moving target 2 out of 3 times in 5.5 seconds. Presumably then it would take a highly qualified expert marksman to achieve that.
I really couldn't say, sir. I don't know.
Well, neither do I. Possibly anyone could pick up a rifle to manage that kind of score. But I think we ought to find out. Let me see. Let me see. Your Honor, may I question this young man? Thank you. Son, have you ever fired a rifle?
Me? Yes, sir.
When?
When I was in the Army.
How long were you in the Army?
For 2 years.
Were you in combat?
No, sir. I was in the Quartermaster Corps.
Then you would still have had to qualify in the rifle range. That would have been part of your training. What was your official qualification rank with a rifle?
Just plain marksman.
Then you qualified as an average shot with a rifle. Or, in other words, the same ranking the defendant held in the Marine Corps. If you would then, with the court's permission, would you reperform the demonstration shooting for us?
I don't know how I do.
Well, exactly. None of us knows.
.9 seconds. One hit. Your Honor, prosecution never agreed to a spurious demonstration like this. This man has never practiced with this rifle before, nor has he ever fired it.
Objection! Mr. Roberts' implication to the jury is that the defendant did fire and did practice with this rifle.
Is the prosecution prepared to show in testimony that the defendant did indeed practice firing with this rifle?
No, Your Honor.
Jury will disregard the previous statement and draw no inference from it. You understand?
Your Honor, the prosecution has raised a very serious question in the minds of the jury. I'm willing to try to answer it with another demonstration, unless the prosecution is unwilling or reluctant or afraid to test its thesis.
That wasn't me. I didn't do that.
No, you didn't. He did.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will pay attention to me now. You will completely ignore and disregard what you have just witnessed here. Do you understand? Completely. And as for you, Mr. Weldon, I am officially censoring your conduct here today.
No, but Your Honor,
Just a minute, Mr. Weldon. That is not all. Now, you have deliberately put an indelible inference in the minds of this jury that someone else, other than the defendant, may have committed the crime of which he is accused. Now, unless you are prepared in presenting your case to bring forth testimony and evidence to substantiate that fact, I will seriously consider holding you in contempt.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will stand in recess until Monday, 9 a.m.
It was worth a try.
Yes, it was worth a try. But I sure hope that Paul digs something up right quick, to quote His Honor, and I hope you find that red-haired Negro girl.
And I hope she actually saw someone there.
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts, you're going to make a statement. What about the autopsy notes that were burned? Does the jury know about those notes? On the jury? What do they know about it, Mr. Roberts? What about the mysterious statement of the prostitute who claims she saw firing from the grassy knoll? Are you going to call Governor Connolly to the stand?
No, I'm not.
Do you think the jury is convinced that just one bullet hit both Kennedy and Connolly? What about the magic bullet?
Nothing magic about it. Half a dozen forensic experts testified that one bullet could, and in fact, did pass through the president and hit Governor Connolly. And there's not one mark, one shadow, one line in all the autopsy reports that contradict this.
Yeah, but did you convince the jury of that?
That's all, boys.
We need to know.
handsome, Dick?
The jury? Yes, I think so. Of course, Weldon's bound to put Connolly on in rebuttal.
That doesn't worry me. So Connolly thinks some other person shot him. Hard facts are all that matter, not whether some stenographer took 8.9 seconds, but whether anyone could do it in less than 5.6 seconds. And we proved that fact. That's all I'm going to concern myself with. Facts.
If this is the Negro girl who saw the shots from the grassy knoll, then we've lost out again.
This the one? Alma Jean Lester?
Yes.
How long ago did it happen? The 5th?
The day before the trial started.
Going on about a month. But we're only allowed to keep them that long by law until relatives show up.
Was there an autopsy?
Yeah, just what you'd expect from her hanging herself in a jail cell. Death by strangulation.
Was that all?
Could there be more?
I don't know.
She's got to go back because of the temperature, you know. So if y'all are all done, I'd like to...
Yes, of course.
Well, I guess there's nothing more you can do.
No, damn it, I won't accept that. There has to be something. All right. So he heads down to Mexico City. Now, the FBI and the CIA have got to know what he's doing down there, but they're not telling. So he spends a couple of days in Mexico City, and he heads straight back to Dallas. But get a hold of this one, Matt. In between New Orleans and Mexico City, he was also back here in Dallas. Doing what? I've got a couple of witnesses who swear that they saw him at the Dallas airport in a huddle with a dark, sallow-faced man. They said he looked furtive.
Now, Paul, do you think he was being set up, as a conspiracy or something, being used without him knowing it? Is that what you think?
Why not ask him?
Lee, you think I haven't? I'm innocent. I never owned a rifle. I'm being framed. I'm being railroaded. I'm a patsy.
Suppose for a minute it's true. Suppose he could have been programmed, set up.
All right. Who? Where? When? Can you tell me that?
Maybe I can. There's a woman I want you to meet. A Cuban lady. She also claims that she knows Lee was part of a conspiracy. She even related that knowledge to a friend of hers 2 months before Kennedy was killed.
What?
Yeah. For some reason, the FBI won't listen to her.
Really?
But I think you should, Matt.
So do I.
Yes, he was the man who was here. I recognized him the moment I saw him on the television. And of course they said his name was Leon Oswald.
Did you talk to him?
No, we didn't get that far. We just talked about him while he waited.
How clearly did you see Leon Oswald? Where was he?
Right out there. So you came with him from New Orleans?
More or less. It was arranged. So was his trip.
But if he cannot speak Spanish, how can he get into Cuba?
There are ways, connections. All he needs is the right contacts. When he's there, then he'll do the job.
He will kill Fidel.
He was a Marine. He is a crack shot.
Besides, I think he's a little crazy. Give him a gun and he'll shoot anybody you want. Kennedy, for instance.
Why?
Because Kennedy betrayed us at the Bay of Pigs. He sold us out, and he deserved to be executed just like any other traitor.
No! I will have nothing to do with that.
There are others. Let's go. We are wasting our time here.
The two men who brought him here, who were they?
One called himself Leopoldo, and the other one said his name was Angelo. Yes.
You'd never seen them before. And you never saw them again.
No.
Kip, gotta talk to you.
You're amazing, Matt. How'd you find me?
Well, you know, I've got the top investigative team in town.
You should all take up jogging. Good for your nerves.
Ah, really works, does it?
Now, look at me. Got a hostile bone in my body. Now, look, Matt. My job is to convict Oswald, not to help you spring him. And even if I had doubts, I'd still go after him, full bore.
No doubts, Kip?
No. He did it alone. I have the evidence to prove it.
Now, you're the one who's talking law instead of fact, eh?
Oh, do you have facts? No, just rumors and speculation. I know because I was down that road at the start, and it's a dead end. And off the record, I checked.
Oh, now you're just telling me that you checked with the CIA and Hoover and the White House, and they all denied everything, right? You believe them?
Well, let me put it this way. I have everything I need to nail your boy. Method, means, opportunity.
Oh, I've heard that story before. But suppose there was something more. Somebody more. Somebody else.
Who? Do you have names, facts, dates? No. Because that's how I started. I said to myself, how could a nobody like Oswald do it alone? But that is the how and the why. Because he was a nobody until he didn't.
I don't think that's why you quit looking, Kip. I think it's because somebody told you to quit.
Now, that's a cheap shot, Matt. Sure, I'm ambitious, but not that ambitious. Do you think if I had the slightest doubt about Oswald's guilt, I'd stay on this case?
No, I think you'd find a way of convincing yourself.
Well, I did. I had all the evidence checked out, independently. It's solid.
What about those classified, top-secret files on Oswald in Washington? What's in them?
I don't care. I don't care if he had an office at the CIA. I don't care if he was J. Edgar Hoover's boyfriend. I have only one job. I have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Lee Harvey Oswald committed murder. That's all.
Is that enough, Kip? Not in this case. I'm going to ask for an order to open every top-secret file on him.
But you know he did it. Or are you another one of those people who write him letters asking for his autograph? Now, what the hell is happening to this country? A little creep kills the president, a lot of other deranged creeps try making him a folk hero. The slimy little rat is guilty, and you know it.
What exactly are you afraid of?
Not a damn thing! Okay. I'll help you get into those top-secret files. But in return, there'll be no discovery petitions to circuit, no motions for delay, no requests for postponement. The trial goes on. Understood?
Understood. Monday, we'll open the case for the defense. About a half an hour before the assassination, did you see Mr. Oswald?
Yes, sir. I remember seeing Lee, the defendant, when I came down to lunch.
That is on the first floor, not in the lunchroom. And what time was it that you saw the defendant there, do you recall?
Yes, sir. It was a little before noon, about 10 minutes to 12.
12 o'clock noon. That's almost exactly when I saw him on the first floor.
And you're sure it was the defendant you saw?
I know it was him, and I know it was straight up noon.
12:15 about. I remember I had just looked at my watch as I came out the door. Then I glanced back in the building, and that's when I saw him in the hallway.
The defendant? Did you talk with him?
No, I just saw him. I figured he was coming outside with the rest of us to see the president whenever he was going to drive by.
Whenever. Of course, not you, not the defendant. No one knew the exact time the president would drive by. Not even the Secret Service. Now, surely a determined, dedicated assassin would be waiting and hiding for that exact moment, not wandering around a hallway. Thank you. Now, the president was assassinated when the defendant claims he was in the lunchroom.
Yeah, but I never saw him there, and neither did Sam.
The question, Mr. Barnes, is not whether you saw the defendant in the lunchroom, but whether he, as he stated to the police, could possibly have seen you in the lunchroom. That's all.
Mr. Barnes, did you and Sam Joseph often, in fact, usually eat your lunch in the second-floor lunchroom of the building?
Yes.
Then anyone who worked in the building, including the defendant, could have easily guessed that you'd be in the lunchroom between 12 and 12:30. Isn't that so?
Objection. The witness is being led toward a conclusion.
Sustained.
I withdraw the question.
What good's that do? The jury's already heard it.
It goes on the record, so it's there for an appeal.
Appeal?
I mean, in case we need it for an appeal.
Now I ask you, Mr. Dorton, was there a Secret Service agent posted to the point known as the Grassy Knoll area?
No.
Was there an agent posted behind the Grassy Knoll area?
No, sir.
Could there have been a Secret Service agent anywhere in that area?
No, sir, not to my knowledge. They were all posted somewhere else.
Thank you.
No questions, Your Honor.
I was following along behind the motorcade, and I jumped off my motorcycle right about here.
In other words, in front of the so-called Grassy Knoll.
Yes, sir.
And what actions did you take then?
Well, I ran back up toward where there's a line of bushes right up in here.
Why?
Well, all kinds of people were pointing up there and yelling and shouting that that's where the shot came from. And I guess I must have thought that the shots came from there, too.
In other words, you immediately and instinctively turned this way, looked this way, and ran this way because you believed a shot had been fired from behind the Grassy Knoll area.
Yes, sir. That's what I thought at the time. At that exact moment. You see, there was a great deal...
In front of the witness.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, when you reached the top of the Grassy Knoll, several people approached you or shouted at you. And we've heard testimony from several witnesses, all of whom believed that one or more shots had been fired from the Grassy Knoll area here, and that they so advised you. You're not disputing the testimony, of course.
No, sir. But some of them were pretty hysterical, and they just pointed and screamed. But I knew what they meant.
You expected to find someone there?
Well, I don't know if I exactly expected to. But I figured there might still be a pretty good chance to catch him.
Did you, in fact, see anyone in the parking lot?
Yes, sir.
Would you describe that encounter?
Well, it was a man in a dark, maybe black suit. About 30, 35. He's moving away between the line of cars.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Would you repeat it?
Yes, sir. He was moving between some cars when I saw him. I called for him to stop and ran at him with my gun. Well, he turned around and he said, that's all right. I'm taking care of this area. I'm with the Secret Service. Or words to that effect. And then he showed us his identification.
And that identification he showed you indicated that he was a member of the Secret Service?
Yes, sir.
Now, Officer Jones, it has been established in previous testimony that there was not and could not have been a bona fide member of the Secret Service on duty at the Grassy Knoll area at the time of your encounter with the man in the black suit and who showed you his identification as a member of the Secret Service. Now, was there any way in which you could have been certain that the identification was genuine?
No, sir. But it looked real.
But, in fact, that man could have been anyone, and the identification could have been a fake.
Yes, sir.
Your witness.
Officer Jones, how long was it, in your estimation, between the time you heard shots and the time you and the other officers searched this area here?
Well, it was less than a minute. More like 30 seconds.
And when you searched the Grassy Knoll area and the lot behind it, did you find a rifle or any other sort of weapon?
No, sir.
Of course, if there had been shots from that area, there would necessarily have been empty cartridge shells. Did you find any empty cartridge shells?
No, sir.
So, if someone had fired from the Grassy Knoll area, that person would have had to search for empty cartridge shells, pick them up, hide, or otherwise get rid of a weapon, and disappear from the Grassy Knoll in the space of 30 seconds. Do you think that's possible?
No, sir. Not now, I don't.
No. And I don't think any reasonable person would believe in a figment of mass hysteria, an invisible assassin who leaves not a trace of evidence behind, not even footprints in the soft ground.
Don't bother yourself, Mr. Weldon. I'm sure the jury can sort out facts from fancy rhetoric. That's what juries are for.
Yes, Your Honor, but I would still like an objection set in the record.
Very well. Denied and so recorded. Mr. Roberts?
Oh, that's all, Your Honor.
Lights, please.
Now, members of the jury, this film was taken by a spectator at the time of the assassination. We've made a copy of the film in slow motion so that you may study this awesome event in greater detail. As you know, the prosecution claims that all 3 shots came from behind the president. Immediately after the first shot, the president's car disappears behind a road sign. We know that the second shot missed its target, so it's the third and fatal shot that we're interested in. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to scrutinize it as dispassionately as you possibly can.
In other words, the shot was fired from this area here, and it struck the president here.
Yes.
Well, we've all seen the film, and common sense tells us that that must, in fact, be what happened. But what is the scientific basis for your opinion?
The best and the simplest. Newton's second law of motion, which states, in essence, that an object struck by another object, that is, a projectile, move in the same direction as the projectile that struck it.
Like this?
Yes.
In other words, any physical object, a ball or a bowling pin or a man's head, when struck from behind, will move forward. And when struck from in front, will move backward.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Professor Melcher. Your witness, Mr. Roberts.
Professor, you claim that President Kennedy was struck in the right front portion of his head by a bullet? And yet, official autopsy reports, which were reviewed by numerous experts, do not show a bullet entry wound in front of the president's head. How do you account for that?
Well, in any massive head wound like the president's, precisely determining the exact and initial entry point of a projectile is, it's all but impossible.
And yet, 3 autopsy surgeons have testified that they could prove entry into the president's body, and that, in fact, the president was struck twice, and only from the rear.
Well, I believe they were wrong. Of course, even experts can disagree.
Yes, they can. You heard the earlier testimony, Dr. Lawrence Steuben, that the motion of the president's head backwards was caused by a cortical nerve reaction. I'm sure you've studied the results of his many experiments with animals, which prove that a cortical nerve reaction could exactly cause that backward thrust of the neck. Do you disagree with the results of those experiments?
Essentially, yes. Yes, I do disagree.
Essentially. Well, somehow that doesn't sound very precise or scientific. What exactly, or should I say essentially, do you mean? Professor Steuben has shown, through rigidly controlled experimentation, that such a reaction can and does take place. That when a bullet strikes the medulla oblongata, an autonomic nerve spasm can cause the head to jerk backwards. Now, you and the jury have seen photographic evidence of these experiments. Now, in the light of this scientific proof, are you saying that such a reaction is not possible?
Oh, no. I'm simply saying that such a reaction is abnormal. It's unusual, and it's highly improbable.
Professor, I'm not asking whether you think it's usual. I'm asking you whether you concede that it's possible.
Your Honor, I must object. The prosecutor is clearly trying to intimidate the witness.
Your Honor, I think I have a right to extract a clear and simple answer to a clear and simple question.
I believe you do, Mr. Roberts. The witness will answer.
Let me rephrase the question, clearly and simply. If a bullet struck the president's head from behind, could that cause his head to spasmodically snap backwards?
Well, theoretically, yes. It is possible.
Thank you, Professor.
Matt's holding, but he's only got 4 or 5 days of witnesses left. You think you can come up with something we can use and quickly?
Well, there are enough files here to keep me searching for the next 5 years.
I'll tell him.
Maybe if I give up sleep, I can make it 4 years. Look,
I'll give it a try.
I hope I make it.
Yeah, I hope so too. Good luck, Paul.
Miss Weldon, are you prepared to proceed with the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. But the defense requests a recess until tomorrow morning.
Very well, this court will stand in recess till tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Soon after Lee Harvey Oswald arrived in Mexico City, he was monitored by our secured observation posts. He first presented himself at the Cuban embassy and later was observed by agents 7344 and 6227 as he approached the Russian embassy. He was attempting to obtain a visa to return to the Soviet Union with a stop at Havana on the way.
Can you get any of that? No, not outside.
Меня зовут Ли Харви Освальд. Я хочу остановиться в Гаване, а затем поехать в Советский Союз. В кубинском посольстве мне сказали прийти сюда.
He says the Cubans won't clear him for a transit stop until he gets his Russian visa.
Подождите, пожалуйста.
Господин Костяков ожидает меня.
Valerie Kostikov. Must be.
Я позову его.
Transcription note. This date, for cleared eyes only. Subject identifying himself as Lee Harvey Oswald, attempting to contact Valerie V. Kostikov, KGB, Political Terror Section.
Mr. Oswald.
Я говорю по-русски.
There is no necessity, and for the moment I prefer English.
Definitely Kostikov.
You went to the Cubans?
Yes. They told me to come back here. I don't want to take up too much of your time or anything. It's, you see, all I want is,
I know what you want, but that depends, of course, on what you have to offer in return.
Look, I know that...
Ultrasonic. I can't get it. I told you I didn't trust him. But the Russians don't trust him either.
Now we can speak.
The Russian secret police? If the Russians were behind it, is that what you found out?
No, nothing about that. In fact, some stuff that points away from it.
Paul, we're talking.
You know I have to watch the 6 o'clock news.
Well,
there was enough in the files to figure that part of it out. Supposedly, all Lee wanted from the Russians was a way to get into Cuba.
But why Kostikov or the KGB? Terrorism.
You want my guess? I think Lee was being set up by a couple of outfits that wanted to kill Castro. Like the CIA and the Mafia.
What?
The CIA and the Mafia? Where's the connection?
As a typical
right there.
Mafia killing. The car was blown to pieces as he tried to start it. The victim, Angel Bolano, was a reputed gangland leader in Miami who lived in
Take a close look.
where he was reported to have headed
See if that name doesn't ring a bell.
casino, dope, prostitution business prior to the Cuban Revolution.
This is Charles Piano, ABC in Saigon on July.
Did you get it?
What was his name?
Angel Bolano. Angel. Why not Angelo? He could have been one of the men that the Cuban lady described to you. One of the two men that came to see her with Leon Oswald.
A connection between the CIA and the Mafia?
There was a connection, all right. That I know. It's in the files. Angel Bolano was hired on by the CIA to try to assassinate Castro.
It's the CIA and the Mafia?
See, before Castro threw Batista out, Bolano worked for the mob in Havana. Dope, prostitution, gambling, whatever paid. Everything points to it, Matt. They recruited Lee. Maybe for themselves, and maybe for the CIA.
They? You mean the Mafia?
I mean the Mafia. At least that part of the Mafia that was working for the CIA.
Conspiracy. I know you believed it right from the start, but I didn't, All right. Conspiracy. But why the Mafia? Why not the Russians or the John Birch Society or the FBI? Convince me.
Okay. The Russians? What would they have to gain by taking such a risk? Just another president to deal with. A bunch of right-wing oil millionaires? No. It takes more than money. It takes contacts, know-how, cunning.
All right. There are others. The Pentagon, the Ku Klux Klan, the Dallas police. Why the Mafia?
Try and think of anybody else that could have done it and could keep absolute silence about it afterwards. Besides, don't forget they had the CIA behind them and reasons for their own for getting rid of Castro.
By killing Kennedy? Why? How?
You want a scenario? Okay. Kennedy's killed. Castro's blamed. The new president invades Cuba. No more Castro, and the mob is back in business in Havana. I know it didn't happen. But in their world, it could have made sense. All they needed was to find the right man and set him up for it.
Set up the patsy. That's what he called himself. A patsy.
Well, what do you want now?
The truth.
What's that for? I don't know anything about him.
I think you do, Lee. We know that he killed people for the CIA. We know that you've been seen with him.
What are you trying to do to me?
What I'm trying to do is save you from the electric chair.
Like this?
It's your only chance, Lee.
And no thanks.
You don't seem to understand. Now, if you tell me the truth, I can petition this court for a hearing or a new trial. I can ask for immunity for you if you testify about a conspiracy.
Immunity? You're the one who doesn't understand. There's no immunity for me.
All right. And I'll try to tell you. Somebody wanted the President of the United States killed. Maybe the underworld, maybe the CIA, maybe the Cuban underground, maybe Fidel Castro. But they needed just what you said you were, a patsy. Now, whoever, they knew weeks in advance that Kennedy would be in Dealey Plaza. So they got you a job in the book depository building because they knew the police would grab you or the FBI would tell them to. The perfect patsy. Now, I don't know if you pulled the trigger. I'm going to argue in court that you didn't. That you were in the lunchroom waiting for a call when someone else pulled the trigger of the rifle that you took to the...
I don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. I didn't bring a rifle with me anywhere. I never had a rifle. Cap, get him out of here. Guard, out. I want him out. Out. Get him out. Out.
Lee, tell me the truth. I'm putting you on the stand tomorrow. Tell me the truth.
I have.
June Lee got a present. New shoes. She was so excited. She said, "Mommy, I'm a dancer, look."
New shoes, where'd you get new shoes?
One of your lawyers. That nice woman, Jan.
I don't want you to take presents from other people.
It was just a present for June.
If the children need anything, I'll get them for them.
But just at the moment...
I am still their father.
I know you are, Lee. I know you are. The lady lawyer said tomorrow you are going to testify.
Maybe.
What are you going to say to them?
I'm just going to answer their questions.
Are you going to say you did it?
How can you ask me that in here? You know this place is bugged.
No, I don't mean...
Am I going to say I did it? My cross-examination is tomorrow, not today.
No, stop it! I know you must be scared about tomorrow, Lee. I understand. I just want to say that if you tell them you did not do it, I will believe you. And if you did do it, I will lie for you. Because you are the father of our children. That is all I was trying to say.
Please raise your right hand and place your left hand on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony given in cause number 64, 1240, 201st District Court of Texas, style, State of Texas versus Lee Harvey Oswald, to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I assume you can hear me clearly.
I can hear you.
Would you speak more closely to the microphone, please?
I can hear you.
State your name.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
The place of your residence.
1026 North Beckley Avenue, Dallas, Texas.
Lee, did you assassinate President John F. Kennedy?
No, I did not.
Did you plan to assassinate President Kennedy?
No, I did not.
Did you see the assassination of President Kennedy?
No, I did not.
Why not? Where were you?
In the lunchroom on the second floor.
There's a pay telephone near that lunchroom, isn't there, Lee?
Yes.
Is that why you were in the lunchroom? Waiting for the telephone to ring? Who did you expect to call you there?
I didn't say I expected anybody to call me there.
Or perhaps it was the same person who told you to go to Mexico. Is that who you...
Your Honor! Mr. Weldon, I presume you have a point to this line of questioning.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, then you better get to it. Right quick, huh?
In several interviews, Lee, you stated that you had been railroaded, framed, that you were a patsy. How? What did that mean?
Just what I said, just what it sounds like it means.
Of course, in light of your record as a returned defector, you might well have been under general suspicion, but who specifically framed you? The Dallas police?
Probably them, too.
Two? Who else?
I don't know.
The FBI?
I don't know.
The CIA?
I don't know.
Your Honor, defense counsel is badgering his own witness.
I merely attempted to clarify the defendant's own statements, and for reasons the prosecutor understands. Lee, I think you do know. Were you not, in fact, approached by one or more men who presented themselves as working for the CIA and who proposed that you go to Cuba for the purpose of assassinating Premier Fidel Castro?
I object. Not only is none of this germane or relative to the charges, but it's completely without substantiation or proof.
Overruled, Mr. Roberts. This case demands extraordinary latitude, and I propose to give it. Proceed, Mr. Weldon.
And when that plan failed, did you not become unwittingly involved in a plot to kill President Kennedy?
I refuse on my constitutional rights to answer any more questions.
Answer the question, Lee.
I will not answer any more questions. I am taking the Fifth Amendment. I will not ask any more questions. Your Honor, I will not answer that question.
Lee, you have sworn to tell the truth. And now, in the presence of the Almighty, I ask you to do just that. Were you unwittingly involved in a plot? During the entire course of this trial, I have presented your defense with all the powers that God has given me. For the last time, answer the question. Were you unwittingly involved in a plot to kill President Kennedy? Your Honor, I have no more questions for Mr. Oswald. None.
The defendant will be seated.
Why am I bothering with this? Cross-examination is going to take at least 3 days. By then I could grow a beard.
3 days? Why? I'll simply ask him, did you kill President John F. Kennedy? And he'll say, I'm glad you asked me that question, sir. Yes. Yes, I did kill the president.
That's right. There's no use going through all that stuff, is there?
No use at all. Look, we've already given the jury a rifle, absolute ballistics confirmation, his prints, and eyewitness identification. Method, means, opportunity.
Leaving a little thing like motive.
Yeah, that would tie it up nice and pretty.
Except, you know something? I don't think Oswald really knows why he did it.
But he did do it. So there must have been a moment in time when he said to himself, yes. Yes, I'm gonna do it. As we all know, people are normally drawn to the scene of an accident, fire, shooting. And yet you left the scene. Why?
Why shouldn't I have? Everybody was running out of the building this way and that.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do when you left?
I went back to the rooming house where I was staying.
And where you kept the pistol hidden, and then you took that pistol, fully loaded, and again left the rooming house. Is that right?
Yes.
Why did you arm yourself with a pistol?
Like anybody else, to defend myself.
Oh.
I figured if something bad had happened, they'd try to pin it on someone like me, someone with political beliefs like mine, and that's exactly what happened.
Is that why you brought a rifle to work with you the next day? Because you were afraid you'd be falsely accused of a crime that hadn't been committed yet?
No, I didn't take a rifle to work because I never had a rifle.
Well, then why was your palm print found on the rifle? Why is there a picture of you with it? Why is there a money order in your handwriting to pay for it?
All of that was faked, all of it?
All of it. But you did go to see your wife in Irving the night before the assassination, and you did take a package wrapped in brown paper back to Dallas when you drove back with Mr. Fessier the next day, and you did take that package into the school book depository building. You deny any of that?
No. But it wasn't a rifle, it was curtain rods.
Curtain rods. Yes. Well, let's see. Why did you need curtain rods? The room you lived in already had curtains.
Well, maybe I wanted to fix it up or I have some stuff to move to someplace else if Marina, if my wife and daughters decided to move to Dallas with me.
Did you ask Marina to move back to Dallas with you the night before the assassination? Did you ask Marina to move back to Dallas with you, and did she refuse?
The witness will answer.
That's all right. What did you do when you went to see your wife?
Do?
Yes, what did you do? Did you take a walk? Did you play cards? What?
I looked at the baby. I played with Julie in the lawn. I listened to music, and I went to bed.
Is that all? You didn't talk to your wife? Watch television?
I don't remember.
But Marina watched television, didn't she? You wanted to see something about President Kennedy, the man you claimed to admire, respect, envy.
I did admire and respect him a lot.
But you didn't want her to watch. Not at that particular moment. You wanted her to go to bed with you. And when she refused, you turned the television set off. And when she turned it back on, you turned it off again and again. And then you went to bed, alone. And when you went away the next day, you left your wedding ring behind. Why? Why did you leave it behind?
I don't know. I just left it. I forgot it. How do I know why?
I think you know why. I think Marina knows why, and I think the jury knows why. I think the jury can guess what was forming in your mind when Marina wouldn't go to bed with you because she wanted to watch President Kennedy on television. And then you reached across her and turned the television set off. Again, and again, and again. Click, click, click. And that was the moment, wasn't it? No. That was the moment. Objection!
Sustained!
Even though you thought of it for weeks, Objection. That was the moment you decided to kill President John F. Kennedy, and you probably didn't even know why. No! Mr. Oswald, that's the first time during the course of this trial that you've exhibited any emotion whatsoever. I'm sure the jury will note that I seem to have struck a chord.
Everybody gets emotional when people pry into their personal lives.
The long trial's been covered by reporters from every part of the world. Now they, along with millions of readers, are awaiting the jury's verdict. Oswald's life history has been scrutinized for clues to his character. His father died shortly before his birth in New Orleans, and he spent some of his childhood years in an orphan asylum. Later, when his mother remarried...
Here she comes. Let's go. Let's go. There's your mom. There's your mom.
...formed close attachment to his stepfather. This attachment...
Sì, sì, stanno quasi...
Your Honor?
Tell Marshal to fetch the defendant.
Yes, sir.
We talked to Oswald after the verdict. Is there going to be a press conference? Your Honor, are you going to make a statement?
He joined the Marines at 17. Almost immediately after
Please,
being discharged, he
the
went
jury's
to Russia.
coming back.
He renounced his American citizenship. Although he was refused Soviet citizenship, he was permitted to stay in Russia. After it's rumored he attempted to commit suicide. In Minsk, where he worked in a factory, he met and married Marina Proskova, the niece of a KGB official. Very little's known about the details of their life together in Russia. And of course, there are still many questions about Marina Oswald. She's given few interviews and was not allowed under Texas law to testify in the trial. Disappointed in his attempt at age 21 to become a Soviet citizen, Oswald, with the help of the American embassy in Moscow, brought his Russian wife and infant daughter back to the States. Later, before birth, he uncovered his second daughter. Oswald held many jobs.
In creating the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald, we have relied on documented fact. We have assumed the roles of prosecutor and defense attorney. We do not assume the role of the jury. The final judgment is yours.